Welcome to another Together class. Today's class is called Rooted in Half Moon. So we're particularly going to be focusing on the roots of our body and our feet, how we can connect into that, use this proximal connection into our pelvis and our core to stabilize us for some challenging balance poses, such as single leg balance, airplane, and half moon, all really important postures that really do help to give us this full sense of balance in the body, help us really give that equilibrium that we're craving. So we'll get started coming onto our backs. You'll walk your feet in, just so you can connect the soles of those feet into the ground. You can take your palms onto those two little bony frontal hip points. Then press your palms down the bony frontal hip points, squeeze your glutes and root your tailbone toward your heels. Pressing into the feet, you're going to extend your hips. Now the hips are extending forward and we got to feel the glutes firing up to do that. You might even give them a little pat, little poke, little slap. Nothing too aggressive there, but just make sure they're working there for you. You want your hamstrings to be working here for you too, but you don't want them to be working too hard. So really notice if those glutes are slacking off a little bit, or if you can really poke into them, pat them, and get the mind there and get that brain firing up into those gluteal fibers. My left can be particularly sleepy, so sometimes I gotta give that a little extra attention. Now, we'll all bring our minds to our feet. You're gonna spread the toes and then start to lift and lower your heels. So we're doing what we call little heel bops. These heel bops here are just waking up the entire posterior chain of the body, this chain from the back of the pelvis, the glutes, down through those hamstrings, into our calves, and even feeling some lighting up at the bottom of those feet there. So even if you slow down with these heel bops, keep going with them, keep pushing into that big toe mound. Take your hands up towards the ceiling. We'll stretch our wrists. So we're pulling back on the right fingers with our palm up towards the ceiling, getting a little lift and lower, popping those heels up and down. Another big inhale. Exhale. Really breathe into it. We're gonna feel some heat. Release the right wrist. We'll bring our heels down and we'll start to stretch that left wrist. But stretching the left wrist now, we're just gonna feel this connection of our feet into the floor, feel all the energy that heat just gave you. It might help your hips extend a little bit higher up. Again, don't lift up by going into the low back, but really let it come from the engagement of the glutes and the extension of the hips. I mean, if the pelvis comes up higher, that's great, but let it come from the hips opening up and not just the low back arching. We'll release our left wrist, circle both the wrists a few times. You're giving circles in both directions. Feels really nice to help open all this up. Oh, feels so good for the forearms. And we'll bring the arms down by our side. We'll lower ourselves down, upper, middle, and lower back, till you come all the way down, back onto your sacrum. So we'll bring our hands behind our head, interlace the fingers. This will be a short but very efficient core series. Elbows are in, feet are down. Inhale. Fill up your whole torso like it's a big balloon. Exhale, expel all that air. Pull the webbing of the abdominals down into the low back. So it's that space between the low ribs and the hips, a little circular area, pulling that down in the low back. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. We keep that natural curve of the low back, but we're just pulling that energy in proximally towards the center. Inhale and lower. Exhale and lift, everything gathers together. From here, we're gonna kick our left leg forward and just keep your legs in line with each other so we can really focus on spreading the toes. It's like they're right in front of your face, you're looking right at them. Remember, through our roots, we're gonna find half moon, some other single leg balancing poses. Left foot comes down, inhale, lower. Exhale and lift. Right leg kicks forward. Spread the toes of the right foot. So you might even notice one foot might have a tougher time spreading those toes out than the other. Right foot comes down, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. Left foot kicks forward. We're gonna reach our right arm towards our left big toe. So it's just like a very tiny twist, maybe 1 inch. You're staying off your left shoulder blade. Right hand comes back, left foot comes back, inhale, lower. Exhale and lift, everything pulls together. So think drawing into the center, right foot kicks up, reach towards your right big toe. Keep spreading all your toes though. So like you're opening up your palm, you're doing the same through the sole of your foot. Left hand comes back, right foot comes back, inhale, lower. Exhale and lift. Left foot kicks forward. Spread the toes. This time, reach the right arm past your left thigh and really reach that sucker so that that shoulder blade's pulling away from the center. Right hand will come back behind your head. Left foot comes down. Inhale, lower. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. Right foot kicks forward. Spread them toes. Take a twist to the right by reaching your left arm past your right leg. Really reach from that shoulder. Reach, reach, reach. Pull into the core. Left hand comes back. Right foot comes down. Inhale. It's one more left on each side. Exhale and lift. Left foot kicks forward. Twist to the left and reach right arm past that left thigh again. So reaching a little bit lower. Maybe press your right forearm into that left thigh and resist. Right hand comes back. Left foot comes back. Inhale, lower. Last one. Exhale and lift. So right foot kicks forward. Twist to the right by reaching left arm past right thigh. Spread the toes and press left forearm into right thigh. Hold. Press that arm into the leg. Feel a connection. Left hand comes back. Right foot comes down. Inhale and lower. So we can wiggle our feet wide here, and we'll drop our knees off to the right. Press into the left heel, squeeze the left glute. Let that open up the left front hip flexor here. You can choose to keep a left hand on that left glute. Make sure it's working for you. Right hand comes to that left bony frontal hip point. Another option is to reach the arms up overhead. So you have these two options here, breathing. And come back through center with the knees. You can keep the arms as they are, or you can, again, as they drop to the left, bring your right hand, this time onto the right glute, left hand onto the frontal hip point. So definitely feel free just to keep the arms out or overhead if you want, but also an opportunity to check in with this right hip flexor, make sure you're feeling the connection of your heel pressing down into the ground, and just that little heel pressing into the ground will energetically cue that right glute to tighten up on you and work in a good way. We'll come back through center. Come on to hands and knees. We're coming into quadruped. This will be another one of our moves that we'll kind of find a few times in class. Again, just helping us to open up this whole posterior chain. We'll bring our palms under our shoulders. Knees are either under the hips, or as we've been kind of talking about these last few classes, honestly, you could have your knees super close to your hands. They really can't get too close. So you find any space from like under your hips to closer to your hands that feels good for you. Focus on pressing your hands into the ground. Grab that floor with your fingertips, spread those fingers out. Feel like you could dial your left hand out to the left, your right hand out to the right. It won't even really spin your elbows, but really all we're doing is just energetically feeling like this lift of energy come up from the floor into the forearms, into our tricep, and around onto that back shoulder blade. Lift the throat up and into the back of the neck. Feel your skull come into alignment with the shoulders. Extend the right leg behind you, keeping the toes on the ground and tucking them underneath. And we're going to push into the right toes and start to extend and bend our ankle. Now you'll want to go probably kind of slow to get started, especially if you've dealt with any discomfort in the bottom of your foot in the past. Even myself, I can remember when I really first started practicing yoga, the bottom of my feet used to really feel a tremendous amount of opening. So I can say over time, it will strengthen, it will open up, but definitely the consensus with our feet, if they are tight, if they tend to have that level of discomfort to them, you want to go slow and steady, but you want to be consistent. You want to get on mobilizing and strengthening the bottom of those feet. Let them awaken. We'll just do this a few more times with that right foot, pressing that right big toe, mobilizing the ankle, and then you can slow that down, bring your right knee down next to the left. Send your left leg back, pushing that left big toe. Again, check in. So front line of the body, lifting into the back line of the body. Hands are pressing into the floor, getting that feedback into the shoulders. Lift the throat into the back of the neck, and then push into your left big toe. Just go slow at first. Don't even worry about how fast. Focus on that mobility for that left ankle. I'm always amazed at how different each side can be. Like I said, my left has a real delay here with that left glute. So sometimes I gotta give it a little extra tactile feedback, get it communicating and working back. But just push into that big toe, spread those toes, let that ankle mobilize, Let everything really open up here. Front body stays lifted into the back line of the body. That lift did line of the energy from front to back. So it's gonna really connect us into our core, help us connect into our roots. Okay, left knee will come down, meet the right knee. Now we'll come into our forearm dolphin position. So I always like to set this up 3 different ways. You have your first option with your forearms down. You could tie the hands together. You could bring a block in between your hands with the forearms parallel, or you could do it without the block. Now I'm going to do it today with this block in between my hands, forearms on the ground. Tuck toes and look back at those toes. Now, first option will be just holding, breathing. Push in your forearms, spread your shoulder blades, hover your knees, and hoist your pelvis upwards. You can keep a very generous bend in your knees. Really just focus on your low back, feeling long, spine connected, core pulling into that spine. Inhale, breathe in your back like a big balloon. Keep the knees bent, but then drop the heels towards the floor and release your neck a little here. Oh, that neck, right? Push down to the forearms, get those shoulders firing, and then look back at your toes just a few times to remember you can just stay breathing, but maybe pushing your toes and just bend and straighten your ankles a few times. Mobilize that torso. Keep pushing the forearms. Keep lifting the low ribs away from the floor. We're just going to get another 3, 2, and 1. Drop your knees. Child's pose. Sit hips back to heels, or you can definitely stay in an upright child, what I call it high child's pose, where your hips are above the knees. One more breath here. You can breathe through your lips and really feel that energetic release around the forehead. Let's actually get one more here. Inhale. And we'll slowly start to make our way up, back into quadruped and towards the wall for a little down dog or dolphin on the wall work. So for down dog, dolphin on the wall, you want to either get to a couch or a chair. If you have like a block or honestly just anything around the house, you can use it as a measuring point. Your water bottle actually is sometimes a nice tip for people. You bring your feet against the wall. So we're going to get our legs. They don't have to be totally straight. So, don't worry if it's more comfortable for you to have upright spine with a little micro bend into those knees. Go with that. We want that elongation of the spine. You either take your water bottle, your block, or your hands on the side of your pelvis here. So you want to measure out where your shoulders are sitting over the pelvis. Flip it around. We'll come to our quadruped with the palms down. You'll push into the hands and toes equally. Again, hoist that pelvis up with this sense of getting really deep in your hip flexors. So those legs are pulling up and into the hip sockets. Then 1 foot at a time with the neck relaxed, you'll walk your way up the wall. Engage that core. Feel everything's long and lifted here. We're squeezing and working, pushing into the hands. Try to take full breaths. We just work on that little by little, day by day, just getting into those shoulders, getting into those hands, feeling this elongation in the sides of the body, getting this push down into the hands, practicing inverting so that we can begin to implement that feeling into the body. Again, it's like you don't normally get upside down. You certainly don't normally balance yourself while you're upside down using your own body strength. So we have to get used to that a little bit in the body. Let that down dog on the wall, that dolphin against the wall, be the intense experience that it is. And I promise it will lead to excellently intense results for you. So we can go ahead, come on up to the top of the mat. We'll get started with the sun salutation. 1, as always, feel free to have a couple of blocks handy with you. In fact, I will show you what you want to do with your blocks. If you tend to be really tight in the back area and you have trouble getting your hands all the way to the floor, those fingertips and stuff, follow along with me and my big tall blocks here. I'm going to have them on the highest height just for a little reference. You got your low height, medium height, high height. So I'm going to have my highest height. If you don't have any blocks, follow along with Allie. You should have your non-block options. We'll all start with our mountain pose. Leave a little space for the hands to either land at the top of the mat or on your blocks which are already at the top of the mat if you're using them. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge your hips. So hips hinge, that means flex them, land the hands on the ground or the blocks, step the right leg back. Right knee comes down, you can lower the top of the foot. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Squeeze that right glute, reach up with the arms. Hands come down, step back into plank. Now, if you have those two blocks at the top of the mat, just make sure that you're far enough back, you're not gonna crash into them. So shoulders are over the palms, lower the knees, lower all the way to the floor. Head of the arm bones stay lifted. Pull back your hands, inhale, root your tailbone in cobra, feel your shoulder blades pull down on the back ribs, tuck your toes, press into your hands. Press through your hands, straighten the elbows, hinge your hips, hoist your pelvis up into downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward, left knee comes down. You can lower the top of the foot, inhale, arms reach forward and up. Spine gets long and tall there. Root that left glute. So hands can come back down onto the blocks, step the left foot to meet the right, exhale. If they're not on the blocks, they're on the floor, connected to the ground. Inhale, hinge the hips, and then stand up tall, expanding in the hips. Hinge at the hips again, hands come down on the blocks. Left foot steps back, left knee comes down. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. If you want, you can keep the toes tucked. Hands come down. Again, if you're using the blocks, just land them behind those blocks as you step right foot back to meet the left. Option to lower the knees, lower all the way to the ground. Head of the arm bones will stay lifted. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back ribs and pull the hands back in cobra. Root your tailbone. Tuck the toes, press and lift. Downward facing dog. Press into your palms, hinge at the hips. Option here too, you could take your blocks. I like them on the lowest height under your palms. This can help with the step forward as the left foot goes forward. Right knee comes down, 90-90 low lunge. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Get long in the side body by squeezing that right glute, supporting yourself here. Hands come down. Again, you can adjust the height of the blocks to what feels good for you. Step right foot to meet the left. Exhale, build on. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands come down or onto blocks. Right foot steps back, but keep the right knee up. And scoot your hands back so that they frame out your left front foot. So again, palms are up on the blocks. We could also be up on our fingertips. You could have your fingertips on the floor as well. Lift the belly up and into the low back. Spine is long. Look back at the right toe and start to push into it. So again, we're just getting this little expansion through that back side of the body. Right glute is really working here. Check it. Make sure it's firing. Spread the toes of the left foot. Get this little press through the right foot and really open up that back right foot. Well, ankle mobility here, getting into those toes. Wanted to especially focus on our feet, our toes. We're getting to that time of year where we're putting our feet into boots. We're gonna have them nice and snug in there, but they will get kind of restricted. So we wanna make sure we give them the health and the space that they crave and desire. Okay, let's turn to the right. We'll land our right heel and side lunge to the right. Side lunge to the left. We'll take them back side to side. Keep moving your hips back in space. Core stays on, spine stays long. Keep pressing the feet too. Make sure the weight is pretty equal between those toes. Okay, one more time. Side lunge to the right, and we'll take 2 breaths here. Long in that left leg. And then we'll land the hands, walk it back to the front. Hands land, walk them forward, bring your chest over your palms, your left leg's under your left hip, standing L. Press into that left big toe. Lean into your hands. Don't let your elbows bend, but feel like you could soften your chest towards the floor. Right foot comes down to meet the left. Land your heels. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands come down onto blocks to the floor. Step your left foot back. Right toes spread. Hands scoop back to frame out that right foot. Again, you could even be up on the highest height here. Belly lifts off the right leg, push into the left toes. So you're pushing, spreading the toes, expanding and bending, flexing and straightening, working a little dorsa and plantar flexion of that foot. Left glute is working. Squeeze it. You could physically squeeze it. Bring that mind to the muscle. Work on keeping the spine long, front line of the body, drawing into the back line of the body, opening up the bottom of the feet here, freeing those restrictions. Last 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna turn to the left and side lunge to the left. Hands come to the hips, sit back in the left hip, sit back in the right hip, sit back in the left hip. So you go side to side, moving through that frontal plane, but the idea is femur bones, those leg bones, move back in the hip sockets. I take my hands, I physically stuff it in there, I really work it. All right, everybody come one more time to the left. 2 breaths. Get long in that right leg. Walk your hands back to the front of the mat. Either land on the ground or come back to your blocks. So here I'm on the highest height again. Walk the hands forward and bring your chest over top of those hands. Right knee can bend, left leg is long. Core stays on here. You could play with some different heights for the blocks, but our elbows stay straight. You wanna almost feel like you could melt your heart towards the floor. Let those shoulder blades come onto the back ribs. Press into the right toe, could give you more space in the back. Left foot comes down, exhale, hinge. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Some sun salutation A's. Exhale, hinge at the hips. If you've been using blocks, don't bring your hands to the blocks, but instead just really sit your hips back down low until you get your hands to the ground. Step or hop back, plank pose, lower, knees or not. Head of the arm bones stay lifted. Pull back your hands in cobra. Root your tailbone, press into the hands, lift, downward facing dog. Step the feet in just a bit here. Feet come together, one big breath in. You can push into the toes, bend the knees. You could stay in down dog, not doing this, or you could try a little hop forward. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands come all the way down, hips move back. Step or hop back, plank pose. Lower, knees or not. Keep the head of the arm bones lifted here. Pull back your hands in cobra. Push in the hands, straighten the elbows, plank, through downward facing dog. Step the feet in, grip with those fingertips. Push the toes, bend the knees, get a little hop forward or step it forward, come to the top. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Let's do our last one through. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Feel free to take a few more. Step or hop back, plank pose, lower, knees or not. If you want, just pause that tape, do as many as you want. Pull those hands back, root that tailbone. Push the hands, elbows straighten, hinge at the hips. As I'm sure everybody proceeds to pause the tape and do 3 more, right? Keep your ribs in, hips stay flexed. I know, this is a doozy. So we're gonna step our left foot forward here. Underneath the left hip, come back into that standing L. Remember, your hands can be on the ground or up on blocks, but we'll breathe here. Working that right glute, press into that left foot. Feel the left foot supporting you here, grounding your roots. If your hands are on the blocks, really let your elbows get straight here. Melt that chest towards the floor. Then everybody here, walk your hands up your left leg, coming through bent knee airplane, pressing into that left foot and coming all the way up to a single leg balance. Right knee comes in front of the right hip. Hands can either stay on either side of the pelvis. We'll bring our hands to heart center here. Lower your right knee, then externally rotate it. Pull it up to the side. Lower your right knee, bring it back through center and flex it. And then we'll move that a few times. So I like just having my hands in front as a little connection into my core, helps me with my balance, but also tactile, hands on the sides of the pelvis, really nice too. It might even help you notice if your pelvis tends to move a lot for you with this hip action. So I'll give you 2 options there. I like the balance, the concentration that palms in front gives us, but also like the awareness that hands at the pelvis gives me too. Really good options, both of them. One more time, out to the side. One more time, forward. Right foot goes back. Warrior 2, land your right heel. So remember, we can always shorten our warrior stance or pick our front leg up and roll the thigh in so we can feel rooted in that tailbone. Strong roots, or it's going to take us to half moon. Arms reach out, flip the left hand, reverse. We'll do this 2 times, exhale. Come back through center. Warrior 2, left forearm to left thigh, right arm reaches over the right ear. Exhale, just give it that. Come back through, inhale. Reverse. Left arm's just reaching up. Inhale, back through center. Variation, right arm sweeps over. Press into that right foot, really squeeze that right glute. You're getting long in that right side body. Then right hand comes down inside the left foot. Twisted crescent here. I like my right hand on top of a block. Lean into that right palm. You can rotate the ribs open to the left, but bring your left hand to your right glute for a moment. Make sure right glute, right cheek is fired up there for you. Release your right ear to your right shoulder. Feel like you could dial your right hand up to the right. It won't actually move. Feel your scapula, your shoulder blade, pull onto your back rib. You can reach your left arm up, just an option, expanding it. Lower the right knee down. If your right hand's up on a block, bring it down onto the floor. It's under the right shoulder. Scoot the left leg back. Modified side plank. Lift the left leg. Bring your left hand to your right head of the arm bone. So where your right arm bone plugs into your shoulder socket, the glenohumeral joint here, that little shoulder socket, plug it into the torso. Make sure it's centered here. Make sure right hand pressing into the ground, strong, engaged here. Just a few times, just gonna have you lift and pulse this left leg. Lifting, pulsing, lifting, pulsing. We're gonna lift and pulse, lift and pulse. Really nice. So then here, we're gonna take this left leg, bend it, land it behind us. So it steps to the back of the mat. You just kind of point these left toes. We're coming to like a warrior two, left forearm to left thigh, right arm reaches over. It's a funky one, I know. Squeeze that right glute, open up that right hip, let that left ear go, and oh, this is like a really like let it go one, big side breath. Well, one more move before we take it to the other side. We're gonna land our right hand back down. So you're back on that right hand, right knee. Step the left leg forward. Open up to warrior two. Left forearm to left thigh. Right hand on right hip crease. Step that right foot a little bit closer. And then shift into that left leg. So this is our bent knee airplane. Sorry, bent knee half moon. Both bent knee. So the bent knee is to help us work more hip stabilizers. I'm gonna press in that left foot, feel the rooting. Now I have trouble keeping my left big toe mound down, so sometimes I have to hold that down for a moment, give it some awareness. If you can reach it, it might be hard to reach. Forearm on thigh I like to really help that stability. Of course, we also have the classic block, most likely highest height, hand underneath there. It's another good way to work it. 3 options, forearm on thigh, press your toe on the block. Really nice. Let's all lower this right foot down to meet the left. Exhale, inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands come down. Your choice, stepper, hop back, plank pose. Everything in line, lower. Knees are not. Head of the arm bones stay lifted. Pull back your hands in cobra. Tuck your toes, lift. Downward facing dog. Hinge your hips. Really work it. We're gonna keep it moving here onto the other side though. So right foot steps forward. We'll come into our standing L. Chest is back over the hands. Again, feel free to be up on the blocks. I want you to try and get the elbows straight. Feel your palms on the ground or blocks. You can be up on the right toes. I actually really like that. Gives me a little more space in the back of the leg. Left glute is working here. Release into your chest. And then if your right heel has been lifted, let it ground down as you walk your hands up your legs. So as you do walk your hands up, it should get a little easier to get that right heel on the ground. You come through airplane into single leg balance. We're gonna get a little hip mobility move here. So hands can either stay on either side of the pelvis or they come into heart center. You can also do a little third eye in between the eyebrows there. We'll lower left knee and then lift it out to the side. We'll hip flexion to the out and then forward. Taking it out and forward. Turn to face you real quick. So it's this little out and up. We'll out and up, middle and up. You just want to mobilize that. Again, could be more up by the eyes or down by the hips. Really, we're kind of getting all of our triple S check-ins here. Go pelvis, you go shoulder girdle, you go skull. Ooh, get myself mixed up, but just take a few more. Mobilizing that hip, spread the right toes. About to get off this right foot here. Right knee or left knee comes forward, left foot goes back, open up warrior two. So remember, you can shorten your stance. You can literally pick the right foot up and roll the right thigh in, root that right tailbone, flip the right hand up, exhale, reverse. Inhale, come back through center. Right forearm to right thigh, left arm sweeps over. Pressing that left foot, come back up, inhale, reverse. Back up, forearm to thigh, left arm sweeps over. Then twisted crescent, left hand comes down, turn on those left toes. You can bring that left hand onto a block. Right arm can come up, but first, check your left glute real quick. As you're leaning into your left shoulder blade here, the right hand is working, holding on dearly to those back ribs. We'll bring our left knee down, coming to modified side plank. If you're on a block, get your hand off that block. Send that right leg back. Woo! So you're really balancing through in there. We're gonna lift and lower our right leg a few times. At the same time, check that left glenohumeral joint. Make sure that left arm bone is sitting comfortably, center of the shoulder socket. Don't let it roll forward. Just a few more like this. We're gonna get our big, funky side stretch. So I recommend just bend your right knee, land the right foot, point the toes to the back of the mat. You might have to like pick up your left knee. You roll that left thigh in underneath you, right forearm to right thigh, left arm sweeps over. Breathe into this whole left side body. And come back around. Hands land. We're gonna step that right foot forward, open up to warrior two again, to the left. Arms reach out, right forearm to right thigh, left hand on top of left hip. Scoot that left foot in, and you might practice just loading the right leg for bent knee, half moon. Spread the right toes. Just like our hands, I like to feel my right foot connected to the floor. I feel like I could dial it out to the right. It can be nice to have a block, so you feel free to grab a block and have one hand under that for a little balance, and also forearm on thigh, right? Good connection for that core. But if you have a pesky and kind of tricky big toe, then you can literally hold that thing down. It's a good practice to build your awareness. One more breath. Left foot comes down to meet the right. From the top, grab a little water. We're gonna put our two little sequences here together. We're gonna time together. We're gonna streamline a couple of our moves. So some of the things are gonna be a little bit more efficient. We're gonna see that half moon 2 times instead of 1. But again, using this grounded down feeling in the feet in order to get that balance, that stability, and that sense of opening the whole side body. So we'll be taking this half moon and finding our way through a couple of our other single leg balances. Just get ready to hold some things just a little bit longer than we've held them yet. Again, you'll see me using the blocks for some modifications so that you know how to use those. Again, if you feel like the floor is just so far away, it feels like a real stretch to get those hands down. Bring it closer to you. Get those hands on the blocks and work out well, promise. Start off in your mountain pose, arms by side. Inhale, reaching forward and up. Hinge at your hips, hands come down. Right foot steps back. We're gonna keep that right knee up. Again, you can scoot the hands back, frame out that left foot, come up onto the blocks, the fingertips, any height that feels good. Spine is long, belly's lifting into the low back, pushing that right foot. Mobilize that right ankle so you get that little push. You might even like literally push off a little bit where that right foot leaves the ground. So it just adds a little bit of loading for that left leg. You work that strength, that intrinsic like brake mechanism of that left leg, turning on those hamstrings, getting some good firepower into that left glute. Of course, that's just an option. If you'd rather be more with that regular style bop of the ankle, then you go with that. It's just like our bridge that we started off with. Another 3, 2, and 1. Everyone hold a side lunge to the right. So turn the toes, side lunge to the right. Take all that heat in the left leg now and breathe into it. Sit back in the right femur bone, lift your belly into your low back. Get really long in the low back by breathing into it. And then we're gonna side lunge to the left and side lunge to the right. You can bring your hands down your shins, however you like that. All right, and then let's move ourselves back to the front. Standing L, hands walk forward onto blocks or the floor. Bring your chest over top of those palms. Left foot is underneath the left hip. Bend the left knee as much as you need to. Get your left ribs connected to your left leg. Lift the left heel maybe. Breathing into those hands. 2 more breaths here. Try and melt your chest down towards the floor. Exhale. Lift the belly into the low back. 1 more inhale. Land the left heel down. We're going to walk our hands up, pausing in bent knee airplane. Right hand's on left leg. Left hand comes to the left hip crease. So you're supported here at the arms. The right hand's like a buttress holding you up here. Right core is on, pulling into the low back. Spread the left toes. 1 more breath here. And pushing that left foot. We're rising up to the highest level, extending that left hip and flexing that right hip. Bring it forward. Holding it here, roll that right thigh out, figure 4. Sit back into the left hip. Working our hip opening here, stability and strength, lots of single leg balancing using those roots. Chest stays open, 1 more breath. We'll release the right foot, send it back behind you, open up, warrior 2. Arms reach out. So again, you can adjust your stance, shorten it, roll that front leg in, whatever feels good for you. 1 time here, reverse. Inhale, come back through warrior 2. Forearm to thigh. We're going to hold this and circle the right arm up, back, and around. A few more times like that. Breathe into it. Let that left ear go. Pressing that right foot. Squeeze the right glute. And an option here to then bring the right hand on top of the right hip, come into that bent knee, airplane, or half moon. Ooh, you could practice airplane instead if the open hip position doesn't feel so great. Again, you could have your hand on a block working it. I will say, like, don't like just reach for the block in terms of like sending your energy down. Try and lift it up. Feel that leg is lifting you here. Lower the right foot down, right hand comes down, twisted crescent. Right hand is on the block or the floor. Press into it, open the chest up to the left. Just like your core work, you're just twisting like an inch or 2. Keep your belly lifted into the low back. Lean on your right shoulder. Straighten the left leg a little bit here. It's a nice way to just introduce a little extra length there. But if you prefer it bent, keep it bent. Right knee comes down. Remove the right hand from on top of the block if it's still there, connected to the floor, left leg goes back. Modified side plank hold, or bend your left knee and quad stretch it. So you grab your left ankle, shin, foot, whatever's feeling good there. We'll take about 3 breaths here, loading our right side. So keep that right shoulder blade on the back ribs. Squeeze the left glute and open up the left hip. And root your tailbone towards your heel and really lengthen that low back. We're coming to our little side stretch. So release the left foot, but then point the left toes to the back of the mat. Roll that right thigh in. Left forearm comes to left thigh. Sweep that right arm over. Big side stretch here. So here's our big side stretch. Squeeze the right glute. Push your right hip forward. So really try to expand your right hip forward and let your left ear go. 2 more big breaths here. And feel free to either take your block with you or to keep this left forearm on the left thigh as we lift up into half moon. Woo! So you can press that right foot down, come back up into it. Woo! I know, it's a big transition. Finish up with 1 more half moon here. You can straighten that left knee a little bit more. Reach the arms in opposite directions, really up to you. Again, I got this troublemaker big toe on the left side. I just gotta, make a good influence out of it. Like, come on, stay down. Right foot lands, windmill to the top of the mat. Tip your left foot to meet your right. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands come down. Left foot steps back onto blocks or the floor. Scoot those hands back, frame out that right foot. Press that left big toe. So get some mobility into that left ankle, left foot. Again, we're just mobilizing these toes, feeling the front line of the body, lifting into the back line of the body. Spine stays long. Getting ourselves prepared for the winter. Your left foot might start to leave the floor. That's fine. Get a little extra engagement there. It's actually a really good test of how well that hamstring fires for you on that side to help to slow you down here from that press forward. And again, feel free to keep the toes connected to the ground. Really focus on spreading your toes. Let them really open and breathe. Last 3, 2, 1. Side lunge to the left. We're going to hold that here. So sit back on the left hip, right leg gets long. 3 breaths. Getting long in that right leg. Lower the hands down. Walk your hands back towards the front here. Come to standing L. Right leg is loaded. Hands come on top of the blocks. You can press into that right big toe. We are working this right foot. Palms are underneath. Shoulder blades on the back ribs. Then we'll land that right heel down, bent knee airplane. Bring your left hand on top of your right thigh. Bring your right hand onto your right front hip point. Lift your chest so that's in line with the hips. Use that left hand as a little buttress to hold you up here. 2 more breaths. Spread those right toes. Work that left glute. Land your left big toe down. Sorry, pressing the right foot. Come up to single leg balance. My apologies there. We're going to come into our figure 4, roll that left thigh out, cross that left ankle, sit back in that right hip. Try to keep spreading the toes, keep the balance pretty even in the foot. Really can notice my tendency to want to lift the inside of my foot. Got to keep that connected to the ground. Work it, whole balance. 1 more breath. Feel good trying to cross this left ankle and come into our warrior 2. Again, feel free to adjust your stance, flip the front palm, reverse. Back up, inhale, warrior variation, right forearm to right thigh, and then backstroke it. I'll do this a few times, mobilizing that left scapula, left shoulder blade. Let that right ear go. And then we'll come into our optional bent knee half moon practice. Left hand comes on top of that left hip. I like to scoot my left leg a little closer and then lean into that right with the bent right knee. You might have to push that toe down. If you have a block handy, right hand, just like modified side plank a moment ago, underneath the right hip on the block, can really help you stabilize this. Use your upper core. And then everyone laying the left foot back down, left hand comes down, twisted crescent. We can straighten that right knee as we lean into that left hand and really feel the left shoulder pull onto the back ribs. Bring our left knee down, remove the block from the left hand, modified side plank. Option here to bend that right knee, grab hold of the right foot, and get that little stretch in the front right hip flexor. Squeeze the right glute. Hold the low ribs in. Press that left hand to that left shoulder blade on the back rib. And then land the right foot to the back of the mat. Roll that left thigh in. First, right forearm to right thigh. Big side stretch. The right ear releases the right shoulder. I'll set this up a little better on this side. So you want your left toes tucked. You want to press into those left toes, come back to like that half or warrior toe, and then lean into that right leg. Woo, don't let that big toe lift. See it wanting to lift. Trying to pull it down. You can reach your arms opposite directions. A lot of times I actually prefer to keep my left hand up here on my left hip and just make sure that stays lifted in line, working for me. Right forearm on the right thigh can actually be just as good to give you that balance and support if you don't have a block or reaching the floor feels far away. Left foot lands. We're gonna windmill to the front. This time, land your right knee behind your left ankle for seated spiral. You can sit your glutes down on the ground or come up on a block. Roll your shoulders back one at a time. Just let that mobilize in any way it feels good. We'll have one more move in the seated spiral here. So we'll go real gentle with this, but keeping the spine upright. So your shoulder rolls down, goal post your arms, really pull your shoulder blades back, and we're gonna just rotate side to side a few times. Yeah, like really just let the chest open and breathe and move a little bit. Amazing what can kind of get untied here. All right, we'll slow our little twist down because we'll take it to the other side. So unwind to the right. It's like we're gonna come through straddle. In fact, pause in your straddle for a moment. Feet will be parallel, it could turn out a little bit. You could have your fingertips on the ground, you could come up onto a block like me here. Feel free to bend your knees as much as feels comfortable. Again, keep the spine long, front line of the body, pulls in the back line of the body. Pull your chest forward, little cobra. Push into the hands and spread your shoulder blades. Root that tailbone to the ground. Let's do 2 more. Come back to an elongated spine. We'll walk ourselves towards the right, bring our left knee down behind outside our right ankle. Again, sit up on that block or come all the way down on your hips or kick your bottom knee out from underneath you and roll your shoulders back. Just having one leg cross can really reveal some differences in each side. So we're just letting these scapula mobilize, trying to move around this center. Let me move the jaw from side to side a little. Amazing what's kind of tied up in there. And we'll slow our shoulder rolls down, goal post our arms. Keep the ribs in, a little twist from side to side. Just focus on these twists staying little and just mobilizing around your thorax a little bit. Keep pulling the shoulders back onto the back ribs and really hold them accountable for broadening this space in the chest. We'll unwind again. So we'll bring our arms down by our side. Unwind back to straddle. So this time go to the left, parallel the feet. Again, hands can be up on a block or you can bend those knees a lot. Pull the chest forward, lift the tailbone, point the tailbone to the ground, push it in the hands, spread your shoulder blades. Keep spreading those toes, keep pushing to the feet. You can keep going with cat-cow or circle your ribs a few times. It's really nice to do in this straddle. I'm gonna do about 3 here myself. Of course, if you want more, go for more. Just take it for longer until it feels ready. Don't forget to change directions. You might want more on one side than the other. That's fine. Just try out both sides. Then we'll come from our straddle around and onto our back. So coming onto your back, we'll come into a little supine twist. I will recommend take a block with you here. If you have one available, it'll be nice. If you don't have a block, just keep both of your knees pulled in towards each other. So actually, let's all do that. Pull both of our knees in towards each other. If you have the block, you're gonna bring it next to your hips on the outside of the right. So either drop both your legs over together and just stack them on top, or you can bring your right knee down so it's in line with your hip, and your top knee, your left leg, will just rest, most likely on the highest height I find for most people's comfortable. Highest height here, just on the inner condyle of the knee. Right arm comes out, left hand comes on top like we're stringing a bow. We're just gonna pull the chest open and let it out. You can either look back towards your left arm or stay gazing at the right. You decide. We'll say if you notice your chin is lifting a lot, like you're looking directly up, see if you can bring that chin in a little bit and notice if that's really coming from restriction in the neck. You're welcome to stay like that a little longer. If you have your block, you'll just slowly bring both your knees back in through center, taking your block with you as you drop both knees over to the left. Keep them close to your chest. And if you have your block, you can now bring the inside of your right knee on top of the highest height. Left knee is lined up at the hip. Left arm comes out in front of you. Right hand stacks on top. And again, just kind of string the bow and open the chest there. Again, allow the neck to come into that position that's comfortable. Mind kind of wanting to mobilize here and adjust itself. Breathing. Come back to center. Of course, you're welcome to take anything we've already done for longer. You can bring the knees in towards each other, towards the torso, and then come into your Shavasana. So that could either be legs long on the mat, or you can keep the feet walked in. I like to drop my knees in towards each other to get that elongation of the spine. Allow yourself to breathe here, releasing and letting go. Of course, you're welcome to pause this recording and take your Shavasana as long as you like. When you're ready, hit play. Take an inhale, breathing into the nose. Sigh out through the mouth. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, slide out, then gather the legs in towards the torso. It's be a little different today. We can rock over to whatever side's feeling comfortable and make your way over into child's pose. So once again, you either just come into that sitting back child's pose, or you can be in high child's with the hips high here, but just let the forehead come down and move your head from side to side, just like this, allowing for a little massage into the forehead. So like you're saying, no, thank you. Just let that forebrow have a little massage here and breathe deep into the back.